Hey guys, today I have Terry Pappy on the show. Terry is actually the founder of a website called Better 3, and I actually found Terry through a comment on another blog called Social Triggers, run by Derek Halpern. I was going through comments on a particular recent post Derek had posted, and looking through and just checking out what kind of websites people have and some of the other fellow people that comment on Social Triggers, and I found Terry's website and decided to reach out to her to do an interview. So here we are today. I have Terry on the show. I guess, do you want to kind of share your story and how Better 3 got started?
Yeah, thanks, John. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's great to meet you and get to know you, and I appreciate you taking the time to do an interview today on the Saturday, which is very ambitious. So yeah, thank you. And so Better Three story. Well, let's see. I am a 30-year long career creative. So my education is all back in traditional design, commercial art, copywriting, all of that. And I had to kind of learn and then relearn when the digital world came online in the 90s and take everything from print and the traditional pre-desktop publishing into that world. And now it's all really sophisticated. So that's my background from the standpoint of education, what I've done professionally. I've worked for all different types of companies, small mom and pops to large corporations like Tribune, Marriott Corporation, AAA, and quite a few others. And I've handled a lot of major clients such as Sears, AT&T, Sprint, tons of them. Anyway, so I've had a big variety of different types of work that I've done creatively and for copywriting. And the last gig that I had was with Marriott. And as many people were in the mid-2000s, I was the victim or casualty of a reduction in force. And so what happened was I decided to go ahead and hang up my own shingle and start my own company.
Yeah.
So it started mainly as tactical work, meaning I did a lot of design for people, help them write copy for their websites, position themselves branding-wise. Most of these companies were a little bit smaller because I was kind of just starting out on my own, so I didn't really have a big network. And then I just evolved the actual products that I offered in the company and rebranded as Better 3. And that's an interesting story, too, about how that all came about.
Yeah, I mean, so you've worked with some really big companies then in terms of
Mhm.
helping them out and everything. I mean, what got you interested in kind of doing these types of things and, the copywriting and the actual like promotion marketing? Like, where does that all kind of start for you?
Well, when I was, it's funny, when I was in high school, I mean, I've had natural creative talent. I always loved to draw when I was a kid.
Hmm.
And I can remember when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I started drawing all these cartoon animal characters, and I'd then give them all these creative names, and I started writing these stories. And then I had a cartoon strip that was like a soap opera. It was like Days of Our Lives for these little
Right, right.
horses. Little girls love horses. So everything with it, but they were like standing upright and walking around saying stuff to,
Yeah, yeah.
their family or whatever. And I had a ball doing that. So I've always been really creative. And in high school, I took a lot of art classes and also did a lot of creative writing courses. So I had this dilemma of, oh, do I go to art school or do I go to journalism school? And it was really tough. And of course, my dad
Yeah.
he was very much, okay, I think you need to do something where you're going to be able to eat and like put a roof over your head. So he was very traditional and didn't want me to go pursue this crazy art career. So I went to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh is where I went to college, and at the time they were offering a 4-week prep course to high school seniors. So I was excited about that, and I went and did that, had a ball. It was because I grew up on a farm, and I got to be in the big city, and it was quite an adventure as a young person. So that kind of tilted the scale in the creative department. So I went and I studied visual communications, was my major. And so it prepared me for all types of doing design work, layout, commercial art, branding, illustration. it didn't have fine art in it. It wasn't a fine art school. It was like a vo-tech school. You know, it was
Mhm.
very focused on doing the work, becoming a proficient technician. So that's kind of where I got the training. The writing part, because I didn't go to journalism school, that kind of just stayed on the back burner for a while, but I still always enjoyed writing. So I was doing my writing training kind of offline.
Yeah.
And I also went to Georgia Tech, and that's where I did a lot of my training that got me into new media and all of the current technologies. So was the two-part creative training that I've had.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like you kind of just you went through school and then sort of you fell into it from everything you were already doing growing up.
Hmm. Yeah, and at the time, you know, it was all about being hired to do a task. So a lot of companies would hire me as a typographer, as a designer, as a production artist. You know, so I worked for agencies. I worked on the client side, inside internal creative departments on the marketing team. I've also worked for, like Tribune, I worked for the Orlando Sentinel. I was on there in the advertising side, and I helped them sell advertising and then create all the ads for their advertisers that were going to advertise in the newspaper and sell the tabloids that were in the newspaper as well. So it's been an interesting, highly textured career, including printing. I worked for a printing company for a while, handled a lot of major accounts through that printing company, and learned which was exciting because I got to understand how everything ended up being produced and distributed when working for a printer. So I knew, oh, I need to create my art this way so it would be able to be printed easily. And of course, this is right when all the digital technology was shifting from old school to new school.
Right.
So that was cool.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, that's kind of the same for me. Like I feel like a lot of where I fell into came from my background in high school and then going into college. For me, it was IT, but I mean, that was sort of where I fell into. And marketing is kind of a new thing for me. But you know, I like to see where people end up with things. You know, this is kind of this whole online world is just there's so many things you can do, and I know you can't really go to school like, you know, for college to learn about how to, you know, create landing pages for people and stuff, you know, for these companies.
Yeah.
It just yeah.
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 I mean,
But
so much is available to learn online. It's just remarkable how much is out there that is just, you can just pick it right off the internet for free. It's like you just have to make the investment in time to go ahead and learn it. And a lot of the things that I've learned and continue to learn are self-taught. I mean, I keep an active subscription to lynda.com to keep to keep any tactical skill set sharp,
yeah.
but I'm delegating a lot of the creative hands-on stuff nowadays in the business. So
Now, is that mostly that website? I don't think I've heard of that one. Is that like you could just go through courses and different things on
hmm
different
yes,
topics?
it's a subscription. Lynda.com. It's Lynda. Pardon me. And it is Linda Weinman's company, and she started way back. She's kind of like came out of the same roots I did. You know, she was a designer, and she created some of the first training books on like web safe colors, how to design graphics for the web. And this is back in the early 90s when things were just still barely, you know, transitioning from that traditional print and design world into the new media world. And so she started doing those, and then she wrote these hands-on training where she actually had like a CD in the back, and you could put that in your computer and use the files that she supplied. And as technology improved, she started moving her training into like VHS tapes. So she was just kind of going with delivering her content as the technology improved. And now it's to the point where, because it's so easy to post video and create content and download, and the bandwidth is getting better.
Yep.
So now she delivers everything online, and you just pay you can pay per month, but she covers everything from all the creative. She covers business courses. She covers coding, very sophisticated client-side stuff. So if you want to learn a particular software, like she's got tons of WordPress training programs. She even has a training program for Squarespace, and that's one of my favorite CMSs to use. It's so easy and fun.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds pretty cool. I might check that out, and I'll leave a link for anyone
hmm
who might be interested in the show notes as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, it's a great tool, great resource. Even if sometimes I'll be working on something, like if I get really busy and one of my designers is kind of like just can't take on more work, I go in and I'll just like, I can do this really quick. And oh, wait a minute, I haven't used like InDesign, for this particular trick, like to do columns or a table of contents or something. How do I do that again? It's like I knew how to do it, but I just don't use those skills as much as I used to because,
Right.
again, I've got a team that helps me with that stuff. And I'll just go into lynda.com and find that particular movie, watch it in a couple minutes, and boom, I'm ready to
Yeah.
go. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. That's something I'll have to check out. I know I've gone through a lot of courses online myself, all kinds of different things just to kind of test the waters. But, are there any other particular like courses maybe that you've checked out that you like since we're kind of on that topic?
I the only other one that I've used, and there are tons out there, but I like lynda.com because it's predictable. I've used it for years, and it has so much to offer. So that's probably my 90%. But I have gone to, I've purchased a couple courses on creative, what is it, Creative Live?
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's where they do yeah, I've done those for some photography because I was kind of messing around. I bought a Canon 7D, and I've been trying to use it for some video that I just post for content on my website. And I shoot most of my video I shoot by myself. So I like to, because I still enjoy
Right.
doing all that stuff, and I have to
Yeah.
discipline myself. Say, Terry, you're strategic. You need to be working on the strategy stuff and coaching your clients that way. But I still enjoy getting my hands inside the creative and trying things. And so I signed up for a 7D class that they did, and they have an instructor he is so knowledgeable. I just sit in awe at how he instructs, and some people have a real gift for teaching.
Yeah, I'm on their mailing list because I did buy one of their courses, and I know they'll do it live, and then you can watch
Hmm.
the course in full without paying if you watch it live, and then you can go on and purchase it after the fact. But
Right.
it was really
And
cool.
I prefer the latter because for me, giving up a day or 2 days to watch a program is just no.
Right,
Right?
right. It's like an entire
So
day they do
so
the.
yeah, and their courses are pretty affordable. I think it cost me like $49, and I can go back to it and refer it whenever. It's always available there for me. So it's a good way to sell and promote that kind of content.
Yeah. So I know we were going to talk a little bit about confidence in business. Do you kind of want to, I guess, shine some light on your knowledge there? And I guess obviously it's a pretty vague topic, but I guess anything you could really share and how that's played into what you've done for clients or helping others.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to. It's one of my favorite topics, and I like in the work that I do. It's highly subjective. So when you work with anything creative, you have, well, I like green, I don't like green, or could you move that photo over there? And I don't like that picture. So it becomes very subjective, and it's all about perception and the way things occur to people. And then on the other side of that, you have the quantitative, which is where you measure all of your performance. So your marketing analytics, your how many times is your ad seen, how many people are clicking on your links in your newsletter, those kinds of things. So there's this huge gap in between those two areas where it's all about strategy, it's all about intention, it's all about the thought process of why are we doing all this? Why are we creating this business and trying to get people to pay attention to us and buy our
Right.
stuff? And that's the space I love to live in, because as I was developing Better 3, it was always about the tactics. It was always about, oh, I need you to design this or build that and, increase our, market share or whatever. And anymore, it's all about the tactics, and it's so little about the qualitative stuff, the intangibles, the attitudes of the business owner. So I find that in the work that I do now through Better 3, because we focus on 3 very important components. The one in the middle is the communication. That's still the tactical. That's still at the end of the day, you still have to have a newsletter, a website, a sales brochure. You still have to have your messaging, your social strategy. All of that still has to be in place. But you can't have that work for you and give you the kind of results you need in your business unless you have the intelligence around it. So the first part of Better 3 is all about better understanding, and that's really where we get in and we find out exactly what's going on with the business owner, the team, and then the customers. And every business is going to be different.
Yep.
And then so once we understand what's going on with them in that first step, then we can go ahead and make really smart decisions about the communication. The third part of Better 3 is all about relationship. And that's where we take the first two parts, the understanding and how we're communicating, and we make it all about the customer experience and what are we doing to make them advocates of the business, to make sure that they're getting everything that they need, that they are an educated client that can refer people to us. So putting things in place that are tactical and intangibles that build that relationship are also very, very important. So with those three components of Better 3, we found tremendous success. And what's interesting about how confidence plays into that is once a strategy is set, I can't tell you how many clients come to me and they just don't really have a good strategy. They don't have any strategy, a lot of them.
Right.
They're just kind of winging it. And they see their competitors doing ads or doing social things. Oh, we need a Facebook page. So then they run off and they build this social network, and they don't have people to maintain it. They don't really understand if they're being on brand with their voice, and it's a train wreck.
Yeah.
They spend so much money and resources, and then what ends up happening is they lose confidence in their own ability to stay competitive, to stay a desired brand, and to really, make their business thrive. And so that's why I love working one-on-one with business owners, because I can actually have that conversation with them about what is their intention. And I find that when it comes to confidence, the leader of an organization, the leader of a business, has to set the tone for that business. So if that leader is constantly looking in the side view mirror at competition, not that paying attention to competition is not something you should ignore.
Exactly.
Definitely have to pay attention to what's going on in your market. But if you're so busy worried about what they're doing and reacting to what they're doing, you're missing where you're going.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult to get a business owner who's focused in that manner primarily, like that's dominant, for them to really be strategic or to have their team not be that way. So the team is actually going to behave the same way. They're going to be like, oh, we got to do this because so-and-so is going to beat us to it. Or right. Look what they did in their ad. We got to do the same thing, or we got to one-up them. And so the business owners really set the tone for their team. So I like to work with them to talk about what their challenges are, what their personal approach is, to make it more about them, because it's their business. They're the ones that are creating the vision and the mission for this organization. So what we do is we actually get in there and just kind of have almost these therapy sessions where it's exploring, what's your intention? Why are you doing what you're doing? And it's funny because they never get asked these kinds of questions. They never have the opportunity to have someone come in and say, hey, let's take a look at why we're doing what we're doing and figure out a way to make this happen. And I'll give you an example. One of my clients is a very high-end consultant to healthcare organizations. And what she does is she will actually work with her team of consultants. And she is a medical doctor, so she's a clinician. And she is very highly regarded in her industry because she has cred. She's got credibility. And she's worked with and been associated with and still is associated with many very reputable organizations. So when she comes in and helps these healthcare organizations with their performance initiatives and with everything going to managed care and accountability, it's a huge volatile environment for her inside healthcare. So she has incredible talent among herself and her team where they can go in and help these hospitals improve their performance and set new strategies and align their teams and their organizations. and she will work with the CEO and the executive team. So one of the things that was interesting about this client is she was kind of, initially when I first met her in 2009, she was very much worried about what her competition was doing and reactive to them. And it's because, in my opinion, she didn't have the kind of confidence that she really deserved for what she has accomplished. And like we're our own worst enemy. We always challenge ourselves and think like, oh, I'm not good enough. And I mean, that's very common among human beings, period.
Right.
But in her case, it just seems such a poor fit from someone like me who's coming from the outside and viewing this and saying, oh my gosh, look at all you've accomplished and look at what you're capable of doing. But yet she was very tenuous in her confidence about her ability to deliver. And this wasn't, I don't think it was really conscious for her until I came in and said, oh, look at this. Initially she was like, oh, thanks, Terry. But what I was able to do was, when I first started working with her, I did the understanding part of Better 3. So in other words, I interviewed her and her team, and I went out and I interviewed senior executives in these hospitals that she was actually had a track record of serving. And I came back to her and I said, you are a rock star in the eyes of these people. They love who you are and what you've done for them. You have name recognition, the kind of, like you could go into LinkedIn at the time. I don't know if it's still true. It wouldn't surprise me if it is. And type in the name of her vertical that she does training in, and which is weird because it's not a last name. It's, it's like typing Lean Six Sigma. You type this word in, and she came up as the #1 contact.
Oh, wow.
To be associated with your, I guess, tactical approach was amazing. It was just crazy. And I'm like, you did that naturally. That's all organic. She didn't do any, because she wasn't doing any social marketing or anything. And it was really interesting to see her reaction to that information about how she was perceived by her clients. And I think it was good for her to see that she was being respected at the level she was trying to achieve. She was already there, but she was still trying to achieve it.
Right.
And since then, we have helped her do tremendous strides, make tremendous strides in her business as far as how she presents herself. So it wasn't just the tactical things about cleaning up her brand and just improving her tone and her copy and what she was talking about and how she was talking about it. But it was really about getting her to recognize how amazing she was. And that's the best thing that I love to do, and my favorite thing to do in my work, is to really just kind of shine that light on my clients and let them see how amazing they are. Because they are. They're just doing great things. But it's so easy to get caught up in, like what's right in front of you and chasing business and that kind of reactive way of looking. And these are medium-sized companies that don't have a lot of resources. So they end up wearing a lot of hats and doing a lot of different things. And to this day, she now incorporates the work I do in interviews in everything she does, because she always likes to keep a bead on what people are saying about her. And she's in a very highly consultative field, so it's not something where she's got thousands of clients and she can do these mass surveys and get their feedback. What she really needs is the qualitative research that can give her the kind of responses that she needs so she can take action. So everything that she's doing now is all about that relationship building, because that's how she gets business, and now she knows that she is respected like she is, so she's really closed the space between her and her clients as far as understanding really what they need. And that's a perfect example of where confidence comes into play. So to kind of summarize the whole confidence thing, we get a lot from external sources. So we get people liking our page, we get people giving us positive feedback, referrals, like, hey, I love your product. So testimonials are important. We get clients paying our bill. I mean, that's a form of, hey, you're great, when they pay their bill on time, right?
Of course, yeah.
and then there's but that's external. And see, that's all out of our control. We can't really control that. We can influence everything by putting a social media strategy together and doing those types of things, but we really can't control it. It's out of our control. It's other people that are actually going and taking the time to put that information out there and kind of pat us on the back.
Right.
So what I also look at is internal confidence. So what are you doing as a leader of your business to kind of shore up yourself? What are you acknowledging about the things that you're doing in the world and in your business and for your clients that's really making you excited about your business and wanting to do more and expand your offerings, or maybe go into a new vertical or try something different in your marketing? And that's something that I like to work with as well, is how can we help that business owner get their own confidence, because that's totally 100% in their control. So what we're really trying to achieve with confidence is to have a balance of both internal and external. But don't get so hung up on the external indicators that build confidence or build your analytics or build your money, because it's, again, out of your control. And I think just getting that distinction for people is very powerful. And realizing that, hey, you know what, this is it's like a bonus. The external, it's a bonus. It's like, wow, I got a great testimonial today from one of my clients. There is always something you can do to influence it, but the 100% control is always going to be in what you're doing to create your own self-confidence.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. I really like that. Kind of making people realize like what it is that they've accomplished. That's just a funny thing to think, like she was in this mindset where she's thinking, well, I haven't gotten there yet, and she already had, and she just needed to realize that. But
yeah, and that's I've done that same story has occurred on several clients.
Yeah.
And John, I really think that a lot of it's human nature. We're so used to doing something and performing in order to get someone to pay attention to us, to like us, to accept us, and to include us.
Yep.
And if we're struggling on any level with confidence or our own, the way we see ourselves, the way we perceive our ability to do those things, or at least just be, that's where we can have some real diminished returns, because remember, that leader is driving the business. They're driving that force, whether they're working as a solopreneur, as a starter, or if they have a team of 20, 50, 100 people. It still boils down to the same thing. It's like that leader has to set the tone when it comes to the confidence and the direction of how that business is being moved forward.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, and I know, just thinking about it, that's something that I've, personally had to struggle with in some sense of the word, when it comes to just like where it is and, what it is that I'm actually working on and what I'm doing. Even with this interview show, it's been kind of like a, getting used to everything, interviewing people and being nervous about it, and getting in the flow of things and just building up, being able to consistently do something over and over and get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of been a challenge for me, and even growing up, confidence is always a big thing. I know when I was really young, like even going through high school, I was terrible in the dating world. I didn't date like any women. I was kind of like an outsider, and it just took time to like grow out of my shell and get to a point, as I get older, then I'm able to build that confidence and like have more confidence in myself and who I am, and be able to basically achieve a lot more and do more. I know just hearing in the online marketing space in general, there's people out there that are afraid to go on YouTube and make a video of themselves, like even just make a video of themselves talking. They're afraid. And I find that to be so interesting. Like, to me, it wouldn't be that big a deal, but how many people are just so scared of some of these small things?
Yeah, absolutely. And look at you, you've got your own show.
Yeah, work in progress, but
Yeah, you've come a long way from being that shy guy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's taken time. I remember when I was probably, I think it was right around the time I was in college, I was hanging out with a group of people. They all went to this private school, and one of the girls had known me for years at the time, few years at this time, and I remember a bunch of people just talking at one point, or one guy mentioning something about how he saw like such an improvement in me and how I was around the group of people and how I was able to like really break out of my shell. And it's just kind of cool. Like I suppose for anyone listening, the more you work on it, the better you're gonna get.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's just really,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So you can be a goof on camera, right? Blah.
Yep, you
It's
can.
funny. I just started doing this thing with my family. Earlier this year, my brother Richard passed away, which was very, very sad. But talk about silver linings. We, as a family, us Pappies, we kind of got a little closer. And I have five. I have one niece and four nephews.
Mhm.
And I'm actually pretty close in age to them because I'm the youngest of my siblings, so they're all a lot older and they had their kids, so I'm almost closer in age to them than I am to my siblings. At least I am in attitude.
Yeah.
And what's funny is we were all saying, oh, because we all live all over the country, so we're all scattered. And when we were together for my brother's funeral, we're all like, it's so good to see you. We got to do better at staying in touch. And everybody's like, I know, and
Yep.
that kind of thing. And so I just started doing this. Actually, I can't take full credit because my niece is the one who did it, who kind of kicked it off. But we started sending pictures in text, where we do a group and a group message, and
Yep.
all the people in the family who can actually accept the text with the photos and whatnot on their smartphones, we're just sending goofy pictures. And
Yeah.
so every day I'm thinking, okay, what am I doing now? Like yesterday, I was out running an errand or something, and I was in front of the Container Store, and
Right.
I'd never been. I'm like, I got to run in here real quick and see what this thing's all about, because I used to get their catalogs a long time ago. And I took a picture of myself outside of the Container Store with the sign in the background, and I'm like, hey, doing this really goofy,
Yeah. Yeah.
goofy thing. And I sent it out to the family, and they're like, oh my goodness. And what it does is it kind of, and this is probably something that a tactical thing you could do with social media, is it got everybody else in the family to do goofy pictures and funny faces and say silly things for just without any thought behind it. It's just like you just do it. It's
Yeah.
like in
Just
this
fun
moment
thing.
I'm grumpy because I haven't had my coffee, and so my nephew Paul, he's like doing this kind of like expression with his coffee cup right in front of him, and it's hilarious. At least I think it's hilarious. I mean, they may be saying, "Oh, that's Aunt Terry. She's being a weirdo."
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love it, and I just love the spirit of it, and just being able to do that kind of stuff spontaneously. So one of the things that I love to advise people on that I work with is be yourself.
Yeah.
If you want to be a goofball, be a goofball, and you get other people will relax, they'll feel comfortable with you, they'll maybe even be a goof themselves, and the shyness starts to kind of go in the background, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. So anyway, thanks for indulging me in that little
Yeah.
story. It's just something that's going on now that's pretty funny.
No, that's cool.
But,
I haven't used it, but I know there's an app on the phone. I want to say I've heard people talk about it. I think it's called Snapchat, and that's like kind of the idea behind it.
yes.
Like you just send those quick pictures, and that's how the app works. So I guess anyone who has that, I haven't used it, but I guess that's sort of the premise behind it. And it sounds like
Yes.
it'd probably be pretty cool
It,
if everyone was
I
using
mean,
that.
this is just an example of some of the stuff that's going on. So that's me from this morning doing a strange photo, and then I've got. Let me see if I can find some of the other ones of my nephew. It's just goofy stuff, and I love it. I mean, it's like here's the picture of one of my niece's youngest daughter
Yeah.
with her morning hair, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun. So regardless of whether you're doing it with your family or doing it with clients, be yourself. That's what they're paying you for. That's what they want to hear. They want you.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I mean that's awesome. I really like it, especially for someone like me. Like most of my family is so close. I've got some family that's moved. Like I have cousins that have moved into California and Arizona, so I don't really hear from them anymore. And it's like it just feels like they've sort of faded off the map. And every once in a while, I hear them, that they're coming home for Christmas or coming home for Thanksgiving, and I see them, once every couple of years at best now. And it's like that, to be able to keep family close and just doing those fun things. I think that's pretty important.
And that's what life's all about, and when you have something sad like what happened to me and my family this year, losing my brother,
Right.
it makes you kind of have to confront that. It's like we're all so busy with work and the stuff we're doing to make ends meet, but at the end of the day, it's really about our family and our relationships, people we love and care about, and making sure that we're staying on top of those too.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. So this is a question. This is kind of a new question I'd like to start asking for my show. Is, it kind of goes with a theme. What is it in business? I guess how did you find your voice? Like, where was that point where you just hit like a point where you said, I'm doing something that's good, or I'm doing something that's starting to bring me some success, doing something where you're starting to maybe help people, anything that's really, maybe like a major landmark or something that was a major impact to your business that just made that big change that was a positive effect?
Oh, yeah, it couldn't be a better segue question from what we just talked about. And for me, finding my voice and really settling into my own skin as far as my ability to give and to help others was really when I just relaxed and stopped trying to be like other people,
Yep.
stopped trying to use all of these mechanics or the machine in order to, just be part of the pack. Like when I started writing, trying to get myself published was the craziest process, and it's so competitive. And I had such a hard time, and I got to the point, well, why am I writing? Well, I'm writing because I'm a writer, and I love to write. It's like you can't not write if you're a writer. And the other thing is, I have something to say that I think somebody could benefit. So how do I create something that people can consume? Well, I don't need to go through the machine. I can actually do this myself. So I created my own publishing company, and
Yeah.
I published through that. And it works fine because the people can access what I'm putting out there. So I think for me, really finding my voice, finding my brand, my personal brand, and just owning it. And it's a continuous process that I'm still learning today how to do that, because sometimes the confidence will drop.
Yeah.
And I'll start to fall back on, I need to be doing something. I need to be tactically approaching this. Like, I need to be handling my social media differently, or I need to be more professional. And it's honestly a thing where you need to learn to trust who you are and what you're about. And that's how it was for me. When I started showing my vulnerability, when I started really speaking honestly with my clients and saying, listen, I know I screwed up, and I'm sorry I screwed up, and this is how I want to make it better. And instead of trying to hide or not be out there and asking questions. And for me, it was being a creative, it was really hard to make that transition, because everything for me was always about the art I did or the writing I did. So I always had something that I could go, here, this is what I created, do you like me? Or is this okay? Does this solve your problem? And that's transitioned to what I'm doing now, which is much more consultative and working with people where they really have problems, which is a lot of this intangible stuff. And they're seeing me through that value as opposed to, here's my stuff, which is like a commodity. Anybody can create a logo, anybody can create, a blog post. So you have a creative, so you have a lot of the things that come along with the creatives, depending on who you're working with, what you're trying to accomplish. But at the end of the day, it's a thing that you're really putting value to. Whereas a person, which is a one-off, it's one of a kind, and you're dealing with that person and what they have to contribute to you. And that's where you have the original, the vulnerability, the empathy, all of the things that, to me, in my opinion, are what create uniqueness and what creates bonds between people. So for me, it was all about stepping out of that technician role and into more of who I am as a person, what I have to offer. And it all comes from just my own passion, the things that I'm interested in. Like there are certain ways that I do a workshop, and it's all about appreciative inquiry, which is all about focusing on the positive and the good things that are going on. And it's about creative problem solving. So there's a science behind that, as well as just being creative in the way you look at how to solve your problems. And it's very right brain, it's a lot of fun, and it's very personal. And so I think for me, it's been that kind of a journey. It's been a journey away from, when we go to college and we're taught a skill or we have our major and we get good at that, so we learn all the academic aspects, and then we go and we get our job and we start doing that thing in the environment where we can get paid for it.
Yep.
So it all becomes a means to an end, but it's always about what we do. I mean, how many times do you go to a networking event and people say, so what do you do? It's so embedded in our culture that we're identifying people with their role in their vocation, as opposed to who are you, what do you love about life, your work, tell me about your family. So it's a different way to engage people. But in a professional environment, it's very common to have that kind of structure around conversation. It's like, oh, you do that? Oh, who do you work with? Oh, what do you do? And how how much money are you making? I mean, it's all about the analytics and the numbers and that kind of stuff, which again, it's all important that we have to eat, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's kind of soul sucking, and it doesn't feed your soul. And for me, it was definitely moving from that kind of hard technical stuff into the more being myself, being real, letting people see who I am, and either like it or you don't. And that's kind of, I hope that answers your question, but that's been my evolution. And it still continues, because there are times when I fall back on, I have to perform, because so many people expect a tangible tactic to solve their problem.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I thought I'd bring up too, just on the topic of conversation of thinking about you meet these people and everyone's, oh, what do you do? And I just feel like everyone's so in tune with this idea of like they go to school, get your degree and get your job, and now you just work and that's what you do. And people are so like, it's like you said, embedded. And I found it interesting. I was actually at a staffing company yesterday morning speaking with the lady who, they're basically trying to place me into a position. And ultimately I told her, I'm looking for a better job right now, and I'd like to get out of my current role and get more into, I'm actually trying to find a marketing role. I applied to, they had a position open for a social media expert it's actually for the company Lindt Chocolates, if you're familiar with that.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Anything chocolate, I'm like, got it.
Yeah. So what's funny is I went on to tell her, I said, I have this interview show, and like I've been doing this completely in my own free time, and instead of coming home and I could be watching TV right now or downstairs, whatever, playing a video game, and instead spending that little time every week to work on the show and do something bigger. I said to her, there's people out there that they make the kind of salary you're telling me about in a month, and that to me is crazy. Like I wanna there's so much potential out there to do something so much bigger than just be in that 9 to 5 the rest of your life and not do anything else.
And John, isn't that exciting? I mean, to know that our vocational culture is shifting, and primarily due to the generational changes as well as the technological advances that we all have now. I mean, the kind of things that are available, it's like barrier free to publish, to create, to just push your stuff out there and let the world see who you are. It's remarkable, and it's so exciting. And I would say that the momentum of personal empowerment for people to find their voice and to be creative and to self-express in amazing ways, and we see it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just, I love that, and I think that for you to be able to distinguish that in looking at a traditional model like a staffing company who's basically trying to fill a role of, their clients are looking for people to get stuff done, and we still need to get stuff done.
Yeah,
So there's always going to be kind of that need for hiring people. I mean, we can't be a world of starters because, as we grow, we're still going to need people to help us, build our businesses. But it's a beautiful shift, and I love working with entrepreneurs and starters, and because I get so excited about their new ideas, and I can feel that coming from you, just in
yeah,
your own desire to break out of that mold and be unique. But you're doing it. You're taking action. By creating this interview show that you're doing and doing these interviews, you're creating amazing content. You're going through a learning journey on your own, because every person that you talk to, you're able to gain insight about not only their world, but it's helping you carve out your preferences
yep,
as far as what you want to do. I mean, you may end up talking with some people and start seeing a pattern in a particular area of work that all of a sudden you're really interested, like, wow, I think I want to pursue that. And then
yep.
the questions become about, well, how did you get started, and what did you do, and those kind of things. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for you.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
going
I
to be
mean,
following your path.
yeah, no, there's someone. It's funny because I had this little side gig I put on Fiverr where I was just trying to make a little bit of extra money, maybe to something that would be such a simple task that I knew people would be desirable for, and that was leaving comments on a blog. So I made a little gig that was like, I'll leave 10 comments on your blog. It doesn't matter what it is. And someone actually, they asked what it is that I'd be interested in, and I said, well, marketing is my bigger thing if it's related to marketing. And the guy actually had a blog where he interviews people and he does all the online marketing.
Mm.
So it's funny because now I reached out to him and I said, well, you're doing all these interviews with people just like I am. Why don't I interview you? And he said, oh yeah, sure. You know. So I figured just connecting with as many people as possible and going from there. But
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great, and talking to others and sharing that conversation it's entertainment. You're creating entertaining content. You're allowing those people to kind of have a whole new platform in order to display their thinking and their attitude, and some of their trade secrets as well, depending on how the conversation goes. And I think that's wonderful. And our ability to actually have access to that type of venue, virtual venue, where we can have those conversations and then share them with the world, it's amazing. It's
yeah.
just amazing.
All right. Well, I figure we could probably wrap this up. I've actually got to get going here myself, but I know we put on a good 45 minutes. This has been great. I think this has been really valuable information for anyone who's interested in, I guess, maybe they'd like to reach out to you, connect with you at your website. Obviously, you help clients and companies. I think anyone who's listening that might be interested, you should definitely reach out to Terry. And I'll leave a link to the Better 3 website. It's literally just better3.com.
Yeah, that'd
And
be great. I'm more than happy to help your audience.
yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate having you on, and I guess hopefully in the future, maybe we could do another interview.
I'd love that. And I'm always here for you. So anytime you want to just hit me on Skype or on Google Hangouts or just a phone call, I'll be here
Yep.
and I'd be happy to talk to you, John. It was great spending some time with you today. Thanks so
Yep.
much.
Talk to you later.
All righty.